Come on, come on. Anna. Ida. Angela. Curtis. Musa. Jesse. Tej. Kayvan. James. I think you know James. Ah, what have we done?
What have you done?
Yeah, I don't know. God, that was heavy.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you seen the film before?
Yeah, but it was really, you guys did a lot better than the last time I saw it. It was, I mean, no, I think it's just this place, the atmosphere was great, and I just sort of sat there thinking, oof. But then, you know, it's funny when you surprise yourself. I mean, I feel I should take myself off and, you know, clean up or something. I feel a bit hit, to be honest. This is your game, I don't know why I'm saying this on your behalf. Ask me a question and it'll reset, it'll be fine.
So I mean, I was going to ask a question related to that, because it's kind of amazing how watching it again on the big screen, it kind of plays out like a tragedy. Did you set out to make it that way?
Somebody much cleverer than me said that the difference between comedy and tragedy is that with comedy you get a second chance. So if you're following the consequences of all these actions, I guess you're going in one direction, and ultimately it would be, I guess, a lie to the stories that I was talking about at the start if you didn't hit the wall at the end. So I think you can sort of have both, because if you play it for real, they do remain in sync, and essentially he has a lot of second chances until the last one. So the two are entirely compatible, as I feel it, in terms of theory.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the casting process, because it's such an amazing, I mean, everyone, I'm sure you'll agree, everyone in this film is just incredible.
Well, it would be very funny to hear how it sounded from the other side. It wasn't really so much casting as meetings and trying things out. And basically, it was fantastic. I mean, I think the first time Marchand came in, he sat on a table and he did that scene where he's sitting on the table, and it just, you know, it just changes from these scrappy words that you've written on a page to this magical thing, and even in a sort of, with no costume and no lighting and everything, you just go boom. And when Anna came in, it was the same, it was a version of the scene where she's trying to stop the police guy going after the nukes that she knows doesn't exist. And it was just like, it just made me laugh. It was fantastic, hilarious. And each time we did it, Anna did something different. And again, I just thought, oh my God, you know, this lives. And it was the same really with everyone. It's the same thing that you're looking for. And so they're not really auditions, they're just kind of, can we play for a bit now and see what happens? And it was just right down the line, that's how it was. So I kind of I mean, everyone here, and Dennis who's in London, a couple of other people who you're not seeing tonight, they just make your sort of, what on a grey day looks like something you should just chuck in the bin, they turn it into a living, breathing thing. And then on set, it just got better. I mean, I honestly can't, I could go on for a very long time and gush about this, but it is actually true that when you're there and you see it in a monitor, you just think, Jesus, can we just do more and more of this? Because I don't know what's happened, but this person's just caught fire. Can we just do more? It's really, and I think that was the case with every single one of these people here, including Caleb. More praise?
Yeah, because I think so much of the joy of this film was just watching people talk to each other and banter and riff off each other is really like a magical thing to watch. And how much of a change was there from the script stage to the finished film?
It was. It's a banter movie. That's what it is. It's top bands. A change. Well, there's some things you could say. I mean, I was talking to Jesse about this morning. So some things have been nailed down since early versions, and some things change. Basically, I think everybody gives something from their sort of golden area. So whether it's a spontaneous remark, Kayvan's very good at just saying things that aren't on the page at all without asking, he just throws things in. You know, everybody does it in a different way. And everybody, you just feel that everybody's going in the right direction. So, you know, Marchand would ask questions, would suggest the first day, you and Danielle came in, and with the first scene we shot, you both said, hey, we've worked out a little thing, should we try it? And just think, okay, we're already cooking on day one. So you definitely want to have that. You know, so many things that Anna suggested. I mean, everybody basically on set goes, I thought of this, or should we try this? And you go, yeah, you know, let's do it. So you end up catching, sometimes it makes things seem more real because the rhythm of the dialogue is broken a bit, and sometimes it's just a funny thing. Many of the laughs, you know, are made that way. It's a fresh, you want to keep a freshness even in the sort of 100-degree heat or whatever that you. It's enough for me, kind of.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it also makes me think about the Black Santa moment, where Kayvan Novak, who plays Reza, comes in to try to talk to me and Danielle. And Chris had asked me, they were trying to figure out something to do in that moment, and I told him that whenever my mom used to buy a Santa Claus for Christmas or Angel for Christmas, we would paint it black before we put it on the Christmas tree, because we had to.
So that went in.
So that went in there. I was shocked.
Yeah, it's definitely an amazing moment. And I wonder if you could talk, ask some of the cast members too, how did you respond to this project when it was first presented to you? Because it is definitely an unconventional film, but you know, for you, what was it that you responded to when you first were presented with it?
To be honest, I think sometimes Chris is too smart for himself even, and there were times when I had to read a scene 2 or 3 times just to understand what was going on. And then when we got to the table read, it's really what Chris was saying earlier, that like watching these amazing people do things, I was like, not only do I understand it now, I'm laughing and I'm moved, and it's absolutely incredible.
And Anna had the boyfriend test, which was like, say, when I tried to explain this to my boyfriend, he didn't have a clue, so we're definitely going to have to clarify.
Way to throw my boyfriend under the bus.
Is that what you said? That was kind of like,
Yeah.
And it was good. It was great. It was good. So, you know, everything, you just go, yeah, there's about 4 ideas here in 1 minute, and it'd be much better if you just stuck to the original, you know, the key one, and then you make things work that way. So it's, you know, it is a live process, the whole thing.
I also wanted to ask, because you know, at the beginning you talked about some of the stories you were looking at, and you're inspired by, I think, 100 stories.
You want the other 98?
If you could, yeah, that'd be great. Well, no, I was just going to ask, like, what were some of the stories, or were there any stories you considered too absurd to include in this film? Because it's already got its absurd moments. So what was left off the table?
Well, I sort of deliberately mentioned some pretty absurd ones at the start. Some of them are just sad, but what's consistently ridiculous is the degree to which they're pushed. And it wasn't so much about looking to those real stories to include actual elements in the film, it was just to see how the structure of those cases work. And you sort of have to understand them, because these guys have a job, the FBI have a job. After 9/11, they tasked themselves with looking after the homeland, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And they've accidentally discovered that it's harder to catch the real guys than it is to lead some people on and get them convicted of terrorism. And their question to themselves is always, well, so they have a Moses-type person, and they say, well, is he dangerous? And am I going to be the person that says, no, he's not dangerous? And then what happens down the line if he is? So just by that sort of straightforward career management process, you get these things. And it becomes ridiculous for those kind of reasons, that you think you should be saying no. There was a case in Portland where a guy went to the FBI and said, I'm worried that my son is becoming radicalized. And the FBI said, that's good, we know how to deal with this, we got this. And then spent a year winding him up until he was prepared to try and blow up a truck bomb. And you sort of think, could you have spent a year doing something else that would have meant that he sort of ended up, you know, going around giving everybody Christmas presents? You know, you've got a year to work on this, and you've got a lot of dollars to spend on it. What are you going to do? So, you know, the stories inform the shape, and they allow you to create a fiction within the realm of what's possible, technically possible.
Do you, this is a loaded question maybe, but do you see it as a political film at all?
Do you see it as a political film at all? I think yes. Yeah, I do, yeah.
It's not as loaded. I mean, I guess part of the challenge of a film like this is maintaining that balance of, you know, what is political and, you know, statement-driven, and just, you know, making an amazing, funny, at times quite slapstick film. Could you talk about the slapstick nature of it? 'Cause that's one of the things that really...
Well, can I talk a bit about, because I mean, people, I think, I remember Angel Curtis, but there were sort of conversations where people were kind of saying, I think, Angel, didn't you say, people in my family are going to be really angry? Or there were the things where there was kind of, the feeling of it having some relation to real life was sort of in there, even when we were doing things like, we were doing things which were joke versions, but they all came from real things. So you're always trying to justify, I think the best jokes come from the most sort of real behavior within the circumstances that you've set up. And therefore, slapstick, I mean, there's not much true slapstick in there, but there's just things which are physically permitted. I mean, what Kayvan jumping up, I mean, it's like, there are, some people just look ridiculous. He wasn't trying to make us laugh. So yeah, I mean, you should ask these guys, because they probably thought, they would have thoughts about their clowning skills.
What are your thoughts about your clowning skills? But no, really, could you talk a little bit about the process of work on this film and how that dynamic came about? What was your...
It was, I can't really say clowning, because from the moment we read the script, we understood what we were stepping into. And for me, being Black, I completely understand that this is something that happens, and it had to be taken care of with a lot of care, a lot of understanding. And I think the approach that Chris thankfully took with it was to bring this to the audience so that way they could see it and understand and swallow this really hard pill through the lens that is a little bit more comfortable, like comedy. Getting ready for something like this was pretty extreme, just because I'm not a violent person on that degree. I don't think any of us are. I think Danielle, Marshawn, Curtis, Malcolm, and I, we really tried to make sure that although we were playing a very high stakes, we kept real, and I think we did that pretty well.
Kayvan, you want to talk about something?
Am I supposed to say something? All right, I'm gonna say something. On that note, and also I had to get on board with the kind of comedy that I was stepping into as well, and researching the writers and the director. British comedies is just a little bit different than American comedy. That's what I came to realize. And it for sure made me uncomfortable at first, but I just had to understand. I had to study a little bit more and to really understand where it kind of comes from. And I was second what Andrell was saying. I felt like I knew where we were trying to get to. I knew what I was trying to say with my performance, something I agreed on with my castmates as well. And I felt like this is a really good way to do it. It's a good way to put some medicine in the candy, you feel me? And I think we were kind of successful at it.
Yeah. Pass it on, see what happens.
Yes.
James is just warming up there.
You do this for a living.
Okay, can I say, what am I supposed to say? I want to say one of my favorite parts was when we were wrapping up one of the last two nights, we were eating in the middle of the night, and I was across from Kayvan, and the topic of LSD had come up as we were just eating our late night dinner. And this was between scenes where he had the arrow in his head. And he's eating right across the table from me, and I was going like, yeah, LSD, everybody's done it. And he looked up with an arrow on his head and was like, I've never done LSD. And that was one of the accidental magical moments.
I think you were microdosing most of the time, James, weren't you?
Still.
I've never done that.
Where's your arrow, though?
What is the next step for the film? I mean, obviously this is the world premiere, and I'm wondering, I'm curious to know how it's going to be received in the wider world. Like, what are some of your expectations about how audiences are going to receive it? Because it is a provocative film.
You want me to lay out a very clear-eyed prediction of how audiences will receive. How many audiences do you want me to second guess?
All of them, if you
All of them. Okay, I mean, there are, strangely enough, people in this room who will probably have very hard-boiled professional opinions about that question. I've no idea. I mean, you can't possibly gainsay an audience. You just, by this stage, you're kind of letting go of the balloon and seeing what happens. So, without sounding craven, it's up to you to make it fly. We've done our bit.
Well, I just want to say, I'm probably have to wrap it up there, but I just want to say thank you so much, and thanks to this amazing group of people for this